Hello, and I also warm welcome from my side. My name is Christian. I'm your co-host today, and many thanks for your interest in the topic migrating your Oracle data warehouse to Databricks. So, what is the agenda today? We start with the short introduction, then we directly dive into the topic, how to migrate. Then there will be a awesome demonstration of some features later on, and we will round it up with a quick wrap up at the end. So what you'll get is tons of content about strategical and technical pieces, how to migrate, what to consider, and also some FAQ answered at the very end. So without further ado, let's roll. So some introduction about me. My name is Christian Eberhardt. I'm a consultant working for Betelligent. I have more than 10 years of experience producing and extending Oracle data warehouses, also based on Exadata platform. And I have more than 3 years experience working on modern data platforms like Databricks. On the project, I'm usually working as an architect or hands-on as a data engineer. So I kind of know what I'm talking about. So, but that's about me. Now about what I can imagine what you are seeing or what you may be familiar about. So that's also why you are here, I think. So some things that might sound familiar to you, which could be issues or not, let's see. So your controller might tell you the database is too expensive. One big thing. Or your database administrator might tell you the Exadata storage runs out. We had 75% new features approaching. We should be talking. Or your engineer tells you would be great to test or use a database option, but which costs tons of money. And your procurement might tell you that's too expensive. We cannot afford it. And it will never compensate. Also an issue. Or your DBA might tell you the support is not good enough. I have to compile tons of scripts and it takes ages to get any feedback. Or another thing, your DevOps team might say, we have a new feature. For whatever reason, it consumes lots of CPU. And you might need to buy more hardware. And as you know, ordering hardware, provisioning it, installing it, extending the installations might take some time. So you better hurry up or consider Databricks, which works much better, but we'll see it in a minute. Another thing, your product owner may tell you, we want to build a new feature X, and then your DevOps team tells you, if you build it like that, Oracle in a database, but we need more, it's not enough, so we can build workarounds, so we have to take compromises, maybe not the best idea. Okay. Or even worse, your architect might tell you, even if you want to create or want to switch to a modern data platform, you might consider building a platform yourself, which is not so great, this idea. One does not simply build a data platform, and you will see it with all the features which are carefully crafted and fitting together in Databricks in a second. So why would you migrate to Databricks? And why would you migrate to Databricks now? So Databricks is overall an excellent choice for a modern platform. It's rock solid, it's modern, and it just works. And it just does work. So you never have to make compromises, and you never will be limited by technological issues. It just has everything built in, what you may imagine. And Databricks is also very future aware. You will see it also later what it means. So how does Databricks achieve it? They have best-in-class capabilities like unified data through Lakehouse. So the whole Databricks company was founded around the idea of making all data available for whomever needs to use the data. In other words, it doesn't matter if it's unstructured data, semi-structured data, or fully structured data. It's just available in a unified way under the unified data asset. So additionally, it's not a big difference to batch or stream. It's just there, and you can kind of interchangeably use batching or streaming. You have all the modern security features built in. You have things built in like change data capture, disaster recovery, inter-regional high availability if you really need it. And of course, you have all the modern features like ML or advanced AI or even agentic approaches, which do more and more things autonomously for you or with you. And you will also see something of that in the demo at the very end, so be prepared. Another thing is that Databricks will seamlessly scale with you. Business is running well, great. You need more power to feed your data to extract all the values from the data, great. You don't need to provision, on the other hand, for peak loads. So maybe you remember when you have your on-premise system, you might provisioning it for Black Week or whatever, yeah, which makes no sense. So with Databricks, you have the full power if you need it, and you can also gain savings if you want it. And this is not something which needs to be planned or you need to work around it for a long time. It just has immediate impact, immediately gets the power, immediately gets the savings. It just grows with you. And one more great feature is the Unity catalog. This is what offers unified governance across everything. So you have data lying there, data lying there, data lying in Databricks. It's just covered everything in the Unity catalog. This is a great achievement. It sounds small, but it's really a big thing. So you need to make data available from buckets. No, there's no need to mess around with personal credentials or personal access modification in buckets. It's all managed in Databricks for you. And to tackle the elephant in the room, some might say, yeah, you don't want to switch from one vendor being logged in like Oracle to another vendor logged in like Databricks. It's just not true. Databricks offers everything and open interfaces in data formats. And whatever they build, they are even mostly cloud agnostic. So you're not even bound to a specific cloud if you want to. Yeah. So these are many good arguments to change immediately. And Intelligent is also here to take your hand and take you on the tour through this migration journey. So Intelligent is here to guide you through it. So some words on Intelligent. Intelligent is a owner-managed consulting company which is on the market for more than 20 years. We are independent and we are focused on projects and services. Here you see some customers, some partners, and so on. Another big asset of the company Intelligent is that we are technology agnostic. So we are not exclusively working with Databricks, but we are cultivating strong partnerships with whatever partner that build excellent products. And Databricks is such a partner. They solve real world problems. That's why we highly embrace them and we really appreciate the partnership with Databricks. And yes, Intelligent is also hosting the World of Data today, this year, not today, this year again. So feel free to enroll mid of June, World of Data in Munich. You're happily invited. So when we think about the whole migration process or the data value chain of whatever you offer, Intelligent can cover everything. So we support on the strategic side, on cultural side. We support on the cloud transformation, on platforming, and all the consuming parts at the end. We also offer managed services to operate platforms or tools with you or for you. So end to end, we can help you. Okay, but without further ado, let's now switch into the topic where you are here for, which is the migration from Oracle to Databricks. Shall we? So I want to start with a high-level overview, and this is the overview. So the overview is important because I also saw companies starting without a plan, just driving this whole migration on site. And this usually fails horribly. So the most important thing is that you have a plan, that you have guardrails, and you just follow it. And the concrete implementation of this plan is this 5-step approach. This is not the most sophisticated invention in the world. No, this is but a plan which works. So here's a 5-step migration process, and we dive into the steps later on, right after this slide. So the first step is the discover and assess phase. It's a phase which usually takes weeks, depending on the size of the corporation. So usually toolings are used to examine the environments, interviews and workshops are done. And as a result, the whole ecosystem, everything technically, and as far as possible also from business perspective, is then clear and unwrapped. So we have an overview of the complexity, size, and of the dependencies of your assets. And the more time you or we together spend on this phase, the better the following steps are. But it's also fair to start small and adjust later. So the second step, then the architect and design phase. This phase is here to then make this transition from your Oracle stack to the Databricks stack. So we map your ecosystem, all the business assets and the capabilities into the Databricks universe. And as a result of that, we have a concrete solution, a customized solution, and a concrete migration plan customized to your needs. When this is clear and the risks are understood, then we switch to the main phase, which is the execution and validation phase. And in this phase, we do the migration at scale as far as possible. We do the data reconciliation, process reconciliation, and of course, it's about upskilling your stuff so that your stuff will be able to operate and extend and work with your new fancy data platform. And here the duration very depends. One cannot say some words. It's highly customized, of course. And the fourth phase, which usually takes a few months, which is at wall clock time, not effort, is then the finish and decommissioning phase, where we all hopefully see that the company gains trust and confidence in whatever was produced. The processes run fast and reliably. The KPIs work. The BI tools and whatever consumers you have are happy, and it's also time to handle the old systems. And last but not least, phase number 5, operate and scale. This is where then you as a corporation take over everything. You switch to the normal, or how I call it, the boring mode. DevOps just runs, you add new features, everyone is happy. But you also will look here into the new options you have, and you might plan your next transitions, like using more sophisticated AI features or let your stuff certificate. Okay, now let's buckle up for the deep dive, the migration. And how do we deep dive? We start from the beginning, and the beginning is one ordinary Oracle data warehouse setup. So this might look familiar to you. It's just a very simple setup. You have a couple of sources. You extract data from the sources fully or incrementally, doesn't matter. You stage them to get increments. You integrate everything into a core layer or some kind of enterprise warehouse, and then you have marts at the end. or maybe even cubes. You might have operation reportings, and of course also consumptioning parts at the end, like dashboarding or analysts or further tools. There's of course much more, like compliance, exports, orchestrator, and all the bells and whistles we all love. But this is a starting point, and this is the setup we want to migrate to Databricks. So let's apply the 5 phases we saw earlier and see how it could work. Phase number 1, discover and assess. So here, as I told you earlier, we extract all the information. And it's not the case that we scroll through every line of code. No, these times are over. It's time for existing tools or even AI to do this, to do the heavy lifting of this job. Databricks especially has the Lakebridge code analyzer, which can cover most of the things. Nevertheless, there might also be the need to hold interviews, workshops, and even to check systems hands-on, which is, I think, always a good thing to get an own point of view. And what we are going to challenge is then things like, do you have special security needs? Do you need special service levels? What about the governance you need to fulfill? How do you develop things? And so on, up to data modeling and tools, so everything. Or maybe you even have special compliance requirements like DORA or Basel, or for whatever branch you are working on. There are different things and we need to understand it. And Databricks offers certifications for different of these compliance regulations already. Yes, so the result here is a feature catalog and the dependencies. Good. Taking this as an input for the next step, we go to phase number 2. So based on what we extracted on the previous step, let's do the math and plan the architecture and design now. What does it mean? We care about all the moving parts from the beginning to the end. So it's about planning the infrastructure, creating the infrastructure, getting Databricks or make it available for you, caring about further cloud resources, things about private link or whatever we found earlier we need to cover. Security especially we tackle here, and we don't do it from scratch. The Databricks Architecture Center has, of course, templates we use. So it's not everything customized because it would be way too much effort. That's why we pull templates, we adapt them as needed, and then we go ahead. When we have an architecture, we go into the design phase, and we hopefully take together smart decisions here. What do I mean? There are different aspects of the design, like tools or different capabilities, and especially tools can be tricky. If you use uncommon third-party tools, it might be interesting to get all the information out of this tool. So there are tools that can be reused and that are supported by Databricks. There are tools which are no more reusable, and we might want to switch to more native Databricks features. We have to see. And then there's also time to decide which feature we use. Do you want Lakeflow jobs? Do you want the declarative pipelines? Do you want auto CDC? Do you even want to try out the agent bricks, the agent-based offerings from Databricks? Or what about data modeling? Do you reuse your known modeling skills and go for the same Inman and Kimball approach, or do you want to go for data vault? That's all something we have to talk about it here. So as a result, there's a concrete setup, a customized solution, and a refined project plan. And it's always a good idea to use the AI-aided support. And with architecture and design, it's a good idea to start small. You don't need to provision 10 clusters if you don't need 10 clusters. Start with one. You don't need to overdo it. You don't need to provision everything for the peak loads. Don't forget this. So start small, and Databricks will support you and grow with you. So now you might ask, okay, that's nice, but how do I then the feature migration? So it's a good question. And usually there are three approaches. The first approach is the simplest one. It's lift and shift. What it means is, so you have Oracle and you want to migrate to Databricks. What it means is you extract independent modules out of Oracle and you directly lift and shift them to Databricks. You don't modernize, you just take it as roughly or as raw as possible, dump it to Databricks and make it runnable there. And then this is it. And this dashed line here means usually afterwards so when everything is done, lift and shift is done, and the Oracle side is decommissioned, then there's usually a modernization phase afterwards. This is what I want to indicate here. However, lift and shift has its pros and cons. So the pros are usually the speed is good because you may be able to use tools, and the risk is also usually low. And you also get rid of all the custom managed things like hardware quickly. However, it only works in simpler cases. You may not use it in a highly complicated setup. It will not work. And you also don't benefit immediately from all the nice features. So it's an option, but it's rarely chosen. The next option is you replatform and modernize. So how is this different? It is different in the way that you as well extract all the features and disentangle the features. However, for all the features, before putting them to Databricks, you think once, what can you modernize? What can you do to make it better? And then you bring it into Databricks. So you might combine things, you might split things, and the best features you have is the features you don't have to migrate. And I'm sure there are also some legacy things. So here's a pro is, the risk is usually moderate and you're very flexible. So the degree of what and how strong you modernize is up to you, your budget, or the AI skills. Yeah. There are also cons on this approach. It's usually tough to get all the dependencies at 100%. And we usually don't try to make the dependencies 100% accurate. We do it good enough and then not lift and shift and then replatform and modernize. This usually works well. And when you do this, to be sure that the processes really work and the data works, it might need some data mirroring. So you might need to copy parts of your data into Databricks to compare it or make it available so that you don't have to make cross-system reconciliation. But this is it's maybe a minor thing only. Oh, last but not least, the greenfield. The greenfield is also a very rarely chosen option. What does it mean? You leave behind the current implementation and together with business and tech, you shape or you rethink everything newly and you create everything newly. So what does it mean? You can leverage all the benefits of Databricks and business optimizations. That's good. But it's a long running process and it's usually brutally complex and hard to test. Imagine that your business thinks, oh, let's switch from contract view to customer view or vice versa. How do you want to compare it? Might be hard. So it's a valid option, but rarely chosen. Okay. Now, as we saw how to change, let's also check what we could or how we could do the migration from Oracle features to Databricks features. So on the left-hand side, you see common Oracle features. On the right-hand side, you see Databricks equivalents. For example, what an Oracle is a physical storage And Databricks, this is a Delta Lake on cloud storage. What you also see on the left-hand side, you see lots of dollar marks, and the dollar marks are costly options, which are definitely helpful, but which cost an extra amount of money. And as we are talking about the warehouse, you might have partitioning or even advanced compression licensed. That's good. However, on the Databricks side, this is built in. You would not need to pay an extra fee on that. Interesting also, if you have epics applications, so low-code apps, there is something equivalent also in Databricks. So Databricks is more than just a data platform, much more. So you can also create your native apps on Databricks with something called Streamlit. And you could even use the Python skills of your engineers, even better. And by the way, if you ever wanted to use some Exadata features, which are known as hybrid columnar compression or storage index and smart scan, so they usually work very well together. And it also makes Exadata a very fast system. Something very comparable is already built into Databricks, and you don't pay the extra fee of needing a database machine, because you have Delta Lake, which is columnar, which is compressed. It's not hybrid, but all the big things are included. Storage index included into Delta Lake. It has all the metadata, and the same with Smart Scan. You have the Unity catalog with even more metadata. So before the engine reads data, it exactly knows which files to read and what not. Awesome, isn't it? So let's imagine we choose the option number 3, replatform, and we want to execute the migration now. So what do we do? Or what I would usually do, or what I usually do, not what I do it. So what I do is I like to have a technical cut through first. So what do I mean? I like to connect one or more sources and work then from the sources towards the core. So I tap the sources to your staging layer in your Databricks Lakehouse. Then I would do the step into the target. So I usually mirror or make parts of the marts available in Databricks. So yes, this means to copy parts of your mart and to make it available in Databricks. Why? Because it's usually a good thing to let people use the data. So not only having an empty platform, but having something which matters. So you have some final aggregations available. You can test out your tools. You can you can let your analysts test out accesses and play with the data and find how fast it is or how much better usable it is. Or yeah, this is the idea behind it. And when you have both sides connected, I like to work technically to the center. So from the source to the center to the core, and also from the aggregations, work towards the center, only technically. And when you have the cut through done, then it's time to work on your first asset. So your first asset could be something which makes it's very custom. It could be, for example, let's start with customers parts or transactions parts or whatever makes sense. So it should be independent, impactful, and not too small, so that we also see where to readjust. So, and as a result of the assets, so you migrate the assets, you make the data available, you migrate the processes, and then you produce data. You also load initial data and you produce it. And then you can either compare it directly in your lakehouse against the copied data, or you run cross-system reconciliation with Databricks tooling. And we see it in a second. So this is also the time where we learn together how CI/CD works for you, how QA works, how DevOps works, and what needs to be adjusted to make it a comfortable journey for your teams. So, and when the first asset is done and we took the learnings and we applied the learnings, then it's time for all the other assets at scale. So it's a good idea to cut the rest of the assets. So we have sorted them, we know the dependencies, and we can take them piece by piece, yes. It's up to whatever we have. It's very custom, so how to order it. We might focus on first staging everything, or continue to cut through even more assets through the system. It's very dynamic and specific. But this is how I usually do it, and this is proven to work. Okay, so now you might ask, that's good, but what about the toolings? I still don't have an idea what tools to use. So let's check it in even more details. On the left-hand side, again, you see Oracle. On the right-hand side, you see Databricks options or adequate toolings. Let's start with database structures. I usually see companies having their own custom deployment scripts, like having a full or incremental deployments, or custom procedures like alter table or add column if not existent, things like that, because Oracle is late at the party, only with a recent version, something like that approached. So you usually have custom things, or in theory, there's also the option to use additions to version your code, or even data modeler, the Oracle data modeler, or other modeling tools. So in Databricks, there are also compatible features. I'm personally a big fan of DBT. So DBT is a third-party product. It's not related to Databricks, but they bundle very good. They pair very well. So it's a third-party product, data build tool. And the big pro of DBT is that you don't need to maintain your structures too strictly, because nobody cares if it's Waka 2.8 or Waka 2.9. It doesn't matter, right? So DBT does it for you. You concentrate on the code, and all the structures are managed by DBT. So I find it a really fruitful cooperation here. Let's think about another thing, not the structures, but now it's about the ELT code. So imagine you have something in your database which runs every night or hourly or whatever, which is ETL or which is ELT code. Let's start with the easy things, like you have SQL scripts. For SQL scripts, you have built-in tools in Databricks. There's the Lakebridge transpiler, which does it. It works very well until you might be using alien features like Oracle model clause. I've seen it once in my life. Okay, so let's not talk about too specific things. So it usually works brutally well. And another, and I think even more common approach to run your ELT database is then using PL SQL packages. So there is something compatible. This is called SQL scripting on Databricks side. However, it's maybe not the best idea to repeat this approach. I'm a friend of either going for DBT or migrate the logical structuring of the code into the Databricks workflows. So, and there are two ways, I think, of running PL SQL code or packages. One thing is that you have your packages like transactions or customer packages or utils packages with procedures, special procedures to encapsulate your code or modularize your code. And this is the usual thing. And if this is what you do and call this PL SQL and all the logic is in SQL, then it's great, because there are tools to extract the SQL blocks, hand it to Lakebridge, and you're done. However, when you have something like You need to work with cursors or single record or bulk record processing in real PL SQL, then this might be a case for AI. There's no tooling available, but AI will do the job well. I saw it once. I think 70 to 80% should be a fair start. The rest is then manual fixing afterwards. So this is doable and usually not too hard. When we speak about external tools, it's something different. So there are partnerships with more tools or passes, but this is too custom. It's hard to say something. Same with orchestration and even testing. Didn't Stephen Feuerstein say UTP SQL is not there anymore? I don't know, but I saw many companies using UTP SQL. So, and there are ways to migrate it to DBT also using AI, of course. So let's go to the next step to not lose too much time. Finish and decommissioning. What does it mean? Of course, we need to ensure that all the regulations are met. And your corporation might have special regulations to check, like, do you have some taxation cases you have to fulfill, or customer support needs to access the data the next years, or whatever. This needs to be checked on both sides, of course. Then it's a good idea on Oracle side to cut permissions or lock users to ensure that nobody uses the old system anymore. Finally, stop and decommission it. But let's focus on Databricks. On Databricks side, we need to ensure every stakeholder works reliably and performantly and is just happy with it. And if not, we just adapt it and make it possible. It's also then time to care about early life support, so check performance costs, adapt to need. I think this is usual business. What I also regularly see is that the new Lakehouse is actually in such a good shape and everyone is so happy that all the users want to immediately change and want to switch to a new platform. This is then a very, very good sign. Okay. Now the last phase is then the operate at scale phase, where we switch back to the normal mode. You start adding features, you refine development processes, you just polish it anymore. You might introduce FinOps, make new learning paths, but don't forget to keep on sharing information. So it's all good. But you're also going to leverage new opportunities. So that's also then the right phase to think about what to do next. You might integrate new sources which were too big earlier because they might not fit into your provision storage. Now it will work. Or it's real-time sources which might have been hard to connect to Oracle, or it's change data capture tools, or whatever. You could also calculate KPIs at finer grain because you can. And the best is, you not only can do it, you also have the end-to-end financial view of it. You can do the math and see, does it work out? Is it fair or not? You could also think what to go real time, which parts, and so on and so forth. And of course, democratize the data and insights also through Genie. We'll see it later. Okay. So most interestingly, also what can typically be an issue. And there are three groups of issues I want to highlight. It's human, it's organization, and technology. From the human perspective, I'm sure most of you are aware, but there's the psychological phenomenon of the fear of loss anxiety. What does it mean? The fear to lose something is irrationally bigger than the chances for new opportunities. And this sounds awkward, but this is the nature of humans somehow. So you may need to manage this. It's also a reason why people say, no, we love our old world so much and we cannot lose it. This might be the reason for it. Yeah, so tackle it. Or there might be the perspective that running the new Lakehouse is seen as a reward, and running the old system is seen as a penalty. You might also need to make sure that everyone does contribute valuable work to the whole company's success. Yeah. Then there's also the organizational things, issues like one or more departments say we cannot, we will not, we have no time. Manage this, leave it to your senior leadership, because you want to do this as a corporate effort to switch to Databricks. And then there might be the usual things like too tight or too loose schedule, where people say, okay, I think you get the point here of too loose or too tight schedule. From technology perspective, I think it's interesting to see that it's usually not Databricks or Oracle problems here to mention, but third-party problems. If you are the only consumer or customer of a special, highly specialized tool on this continent, then we might have trouble of finding templates to migrate it to Databricks. So we might need to check it in detail. Or if you have no understanding of ETL processes, this might also be a problem. Okay, enough. Issues. Now, let's quickly go through FAQs. So what usually corporates ask me, so can you adopt your compute? Yes, anytime, anyway. You can scale up, you can scale down, you can scale vertically, horizontally, whatever it needs. Databricks supports you, definitely. Can you cut your compute costs? If you think that it's worth, then you can. You can split your compute resources, you can consolidate, and you can scale up, down. You have also different options at different costs. So you can mix spot instances. There are 1 million ways if you think this is what you want. Can you terraform Databricks? Absolutely. This is considered best practice, maybe until agents take over. Are there performance benefits or penalties of using SQL versus Spark versus Scala? Your technical leaders might tell you so. No, absolutely not. These are just different front ends for the same shared backend. Use what your enterprise is fluent in and concentrate on the business value. Does Databricks guarantee asset transactions? Sir, yes, sir. Or sir, ma'am, yes, ma'am. Absolutely, it does. You have many Oracle experts, but you need more Databricks experts. Staff and good people who know your business are your most valuable sources. Let your people adapt to the transition. You might be surprised who had contact with Databricks. I too often see this, that people say, oh yeah, I tried at home, I know it from this or from that. Use your stuff and train them. Then some people advertise also to go for data mesh. So is it a good idea to change your platform and your organization at the same time? I say no, just do one step after another. And do you absolutely need consulting to make this happen? No, you don't. But it's maybe a good idea because you have enough people to run your daily business, and letting them do the migration additionally might be tricky. And also here, Betelligent is here to help you hands-on. Okay. Now, as I told you, Databricks is not only providing an excellent data platform with their Lakehouse architecture, they are also very future aware, and they invest tons of money to make the platform and AI contribute to your success. That's why say hello to Genie, which democratizes information and insights.
So thank you, Christian. So now this is time for a brief demo. So Christian has shown to us how to migrate, right? So step by step in detail, how to migrate from Oracle Data Warehouse to Databricks. In this demo, I will focus not on the capabilities that support this migration, but rather on the powerful analytical capabilities which you gain after migrating to Databricks Lakehouse. So what you see right now on the screen is the Databricks workspace, right? It's an interface for data practitioners such as engineers, data analysts, data scientists. And over here on the left in particular, you are looking at the Unity catalog. So Unity catalog, you can see it as a central place for keeping all your data assets and single source of truth, right? For the sake of this demo, let's imagine a European retail bank, all right? So this bank has migrated their first core tables from Oracle Data Warehouse to Databricks. So here I can see my catalog, my schema, retail banking, and these couple of tables, right? So data has been moved, right? And also the pipelines that refresh these tables, they also have been implemented on Databricks. Now I can look kind of what these tables are: accounts, branches, customers, and so forth. So here in the middle, I directly see the schema of these tables with all the metadata on top as a table description, column descriptions. I mean, keys are set up here. I can also navigate and briefly look at analyze the relations and so forth. Furthermore, yeah, I can see like on the sample what is inside. So all this looks exactly as it used to be on my Oracle Data Warehouse, right? But now it's on Databricks. So the first thing that's quite common to do after you have migrated your tables to Databricks is to, of course, build a dashboard, right? So I have built a quick dashboard over here, right? I mean, you can think of this as the executive dashboard. For example, I don't know, like if you're a CFO of a bank or the head of this retail bank, this is a dashboard which you would consume like maybe on a weekly basis to look up for the key KPIs. We can see them here on the bottom, and maybe watch for some trends like these monthly transaction volumes and so forth, right? So this dashboard is updated live, right, with the changes to the data. I always get fresh dashboard with the fresh values. But now imagine that, like, yeah, if you are looking on this dashboard and then, for example, a risk manager approaches you and asks, like, like there have been the regulatory changes recently, and I would like to know, like, what is our exposure to the high-risk personal loans in the DACH region? Well, looking at this dashboard, neither this question nor the answer to these questions are present on this dashboard, right? And in the classical BI world, if I'm not the SQL expert, and most likely I might not have the access to the necessary data, well, I would create a ticket, right? And then this ticket would land in my data team, and it would take them some time to, well, interpret this question to the SQL query, update my dashboard. So you can see kind of there is a certain loop of delay from answering the question from asking the question, sorry, to answering this question, right? And this is where Databricks responds to this kind of situations, to these scenarios where you want to have the immediate answer with something called AI BI Genie. Yeah, so what is this AI BI Genie? AI BI is the analytical capability of Databricks, and it is essentially a natural language interface where you can ask questions in English, in German, right? And this is the conversational capability that allows you to ask questions and get immediate answers from your data. So I have set up a Genie space on these 5 tables, which also consumed by the dashboard. So over here on the middle, you can see this conversational interface. Let me just make you a bit comfortable around this UI. Here are these 5 tables, right? So I'm as a user, I have permissions to query from these tables, right? So, I mean, if I cannot add here tables which I'm not allowed to query with. And now I can, well, imagine I'm a risk manager of the retail bank. I can start asking questions against this Genie, all right? So let's have a quick warm up. Instead of typing, I will copy paste my questions just to save some time. So for example, I would say, All right, so what is our total transaction volume by month for the last 12 months, right? So, and Genie accepts this question and does some thinking. So meanwhile, we can see what is happening, right? So let's give it a few seconds. Here we have the reply. So here I have the analysis. If I open this one, I can see how Genie has interpreted my question, right? Gives me the possibility to also judge whether it understood me correctly and what it actually does behind the curtains, right? I can see the relevant table that it found. So transactions, right? This is one of my tables, which I'm allowed to query in this Genie space. And it puts me like step by step how it will execute this how it will answer this question, right? So here I have the short answer summarized and my table with the answer and the visualization, right? So as a business user, right, I mean, this is pretty much the interface which I will face, right? If I'm really curious about kind of what is happening, I can also see the SQL query generated, because this is pretty much what Genie does, right? It interprets your natural language question to a SQL query and executes this against the data assets which are configured specifically for this space, right? So, well, this question which I ask and this chart automatically generated, right? I mean, this is pretty much what I have seen over here in the trend on this dashboard. So let's ask it like something more sophisticated. Let's get back to this question about the exposure, right? Which the risk manager had. So let me copy that question. All right, so now we go with a more sophisticated question. So what is our concentration of high risk loans by product type over the last quarters? All right, so let's see what happens. Okay, we can see that it draws the step-by-step answer, finds the relevant tables. Okay, so here I have already the summary of the answer. So high risk loans exposure, right, is heavily concentrated on the mortgage products. Sounds good. So here I have also the table that shows me the statistics, right, of this exposure, and the automatic visualization, which, well, clearly we can see that mortgage is the keeps the main risk. So now if I want to drill down in more details, for example, I say, let's go deeper into the product with the highest concentration, right, and show me the 10 largest exposures. So let's see what happens. So notice that like in this drill down question, right, I'm not repeating the context. Yeah, so like I'm not saying like, look at the mortgages, right, or something like this. So like Genie keeps the context of your conversation and is capable also to include that into the reasoning when you are willing to drill down, and you don't need to kind of elaborate and give it like repeat this context all the time. So here they are. So my 10 exposures, I can see, well, this is the answer with high and critical risks, right? So a couple of words like about this Genie space. So it's possible to also tune this Genie space. So for example, over here, I have the instructions. I think it's worth mentioning. So it's quite common for business domains to have their own vocabulary, right? I mean, and Genie not necessarily knows your vocabulary, not necessarily understands kind of what wording you might be using and so forth. So with these instructions in a plain text language, right? I mean, this is just text. I can teach Genie the language which I'm going to use in my questions, right? So for example, what is the default rate? If I were asking the questions about the default rate, I guess DAC it might still guess, but for example, like CEE and so forth, these are the words which worth giving like definitions to, and I will be sure that Genie will pick them up while understanding my questions and answering them. So now let me step back and relate relate the demo I have shown to you to what Christian has presented before that. So when one considers migrating from Oracle data warehouses to Databricks, it's worth. I mean, of course, TCO savings are important. Of course, the goal to modernize your technological stack is also a fair goal to have. But here I want to make a point that one also should consider the investment into the advanced analytical capabilities, which become available for you as soon as you have your data in Databricks. And what I have shown to you is the advanced capabilities in terms of BI as a Genie one, right? But it's not, Databricks does not end with these analytical capabilities. Whatever use case you implement on top of your data assets, be it the classical ML, be it AI, or any other use cases, this becomes available to you on Databricks on a single governed layer through Unity Catalog. So all the data assets which I use in different use cases, they will be properly governed. The access will be guaranteed, and it will be exactly the same table, right? So I don't need to copy and paste my data assets back and forth depending on the use case. So that's exactly the value that Databricks brings to you. Databricks together with BitIntelligent, we are more than glad to help you on your journey in this for this migration. So we have approached the end of this webinar, and thank you very much for your attention and your time. So you are more than welcome to contact BitIntelligent and us to learn more about Databricks and to learn more about this kind of migrations. Christian, any final words?
Thanks, Oleg. No, same from my side. Thanks for your attention, and feel free to contact me, BitIntelligent, or Databricks directly for more information or support.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, and have a nice day.